Hello, my friends, and welcome to Cathy Chat. I love to be able to share friends that I meet from all across the globe, and I've gotten to know this superstar for several years now, and I love, love, love being able to highlight some of the dynamic networkers in my actual network, and that's the part that I love so much about Cathy Chat and sharing, because today my guest is the one, the only Jeanette Deatherage. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on this call. When I very first met you several years ago, actually, your story was magnificent. And I instantly thought, I have never heard that before from a person who actually is a Mary Kay beauty consultant. So tell our dynamic viewers a little bit about your background.
Well, it actually started when I was 4 years old. I saw my brother come home from Vietnam in his complete dress uniform, and I still can remember running down the hall in the airport, and that stuck with me for a long, long time. So when I was in high school, a girlfriend said, "We're going to go talk to the recruiter." I said, "Okay." Well, she didn't show up, and I did, and then I joined the Air Force, and that was part of my story. Because I thought, "Oh, I'm going to see the world," and I got to see Mississippi. But the cool thing is that's where I met my husband. And
Wow.
we went on a date, and a week later he proposed, and 2 months later we were married, and we've been married for 41 years.
Oh my gosh, you've got to do that again. A week later and then 2 weeks later. And seriously, it was that quick.
2 months. Yeah, we got married in 2 months. My parents, I had to actually go home and get a letter because I was 19 and you were supposed to be 21 to get married in Mississippi. They didn't meet him. They saw one picture and they signed, and it's like, I'm thinking now my daughters, I would never have done that. So,
Wow, well, that is a fairy tale times a million. And thank you for your service. How awesome to be able to have served our country. I love that part as well. 41 years. Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. We have some wonderful family because of it, and it's just a really exciting time for us.
How long did you serve in the Air Force?
I did 3 years active duty, and then I went into the reserves, which I thought, well, okay, the reserves are going to be you work 1 or 2 days a month and then 2 weeks a year. Well, when you're in the reserves, you can get called up if there's a war. And my husband was already deployed. I had a little girl, and they called me and they say, "Jeanette, you're going to active duty." And I said, "Oh, I just had a baby and my husband's gone." They're like, "Okay, how fast can you find a babysitter?" It's like Monday, and they're like, "Okay, you're coming to work Monday. You'll be working 7 days a week, 12 days." And that's what happened as a reservist. And then my husband came back from rotation, and I was still working. And that's when we sat down and said, "Okay, this isn't fair to the girls." So I decided it was time for me to resign from the military completely. And then he stayed in, of course, for 28 years, and we
Oh,
got to move all over the
gosh.
world. One of my favorite assignments was in Japan, and actually we were there twice. The first time he was in Okinawa, and I went to visit him, and I got pregnant. And that wasn't part of our plan either, but it was God's plan. And then for her fourth birthday, we asked her what she wanted, and she said she wanted a little sister. I was like, "Oh, well, that's not going to happen." And of course, they are 4 years, 9 months apart.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh my gosh. And you are so right. God not only has a sense of humor, but he definitely has a plan for each
Yes.
and every one of us. And thank you again for your service. My goodness, that's quite a story of testimonial to serving our country. So thank you very much for that. I have to ask, because when I met you the very first time networking, you are a Mary Kay beauty consultant. How did you do that transition from serving our country in the military to becoming a person who actually helps all of us with skincare?
Well, I was, there's it's really a significant thing. I worked with almost all men. It was 21 guys to every one woman.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
I was in the electronics field, and they did that because I had a high math score. And like, this is not going to work. And I had a Mary Kay facial when I was in high school, and I liked it. So I thought, well, I'll have another party and have some women over, and we'll do that. Well, after having that party, I went, I can do this. I really can do this. They had training. I wore no makeup when I was in the military. I had, my baseball hat in the back pocket, and putting on, taking it off, no makeup. And I saw a girlfriend of mine. I said, "I'm going to sell Mary Kay." And she said, "Oh, oh, and she's thinking, okay, how's that going to happen? She doesn't do her face, she doesn't do her hair, she doesn't do anything, but they teach you how to do it. So I actually, they did overlap a little bit when I finally did get out, but I went to training twice a week. And I knew everything there was because I went to so much training. And my mentor's like, why are you not really working, towards getting your car or something? I went, well, I don't know. And she says, don't you have any bills to pay? And I said, no. She says, well, you need to go get a bill. So I bought a Thunderbird. That was not what she meant. That's a pretty big bill. Okay. She meant something small, like, get a cleaning lady or something. So I got the Thunderbird and I went to work and I made the car payments. 6 months later, I had earned the use of my first Mary Kay car. So I got to give my husband the Thunderbird because we never had new cars when we were growing up because that was very expensive. So, and our kids always like, those cars are always in the shop. So for us to each have a new car was a lot of fun. And then I just kind of kept going and really had a great time with, but we kept moving and that made it a little bit difficult. Our first move, it was wonderful. I went to Virginia and I said, I was going to have $1,000 week. And she looked at me, she says, Jeanette, you just got here and you know nobody. I said, oh, I know, but I'm going to do this. So I started going through the phone book. I mean, all the things that, nowadays people would look at you like, what, who are you? What are you thinking? But I did have my $1,000 week and that was a lot of fun. But my husband, he was in a rotation, like he'd be home for like 2 months and then he'd be gone for a month. And then we'd have to move and we had the girls and it was a lot, but I liked it. It was just part of who I was. I'm a social introvert. I know you don't know that I was an introvert, but I still am. But I like the social of everything. So, but when my husband got out of the military, then it was like, oh, well, what happens now? I'm no longer a military spouse. How am I going to do this? And I took him to a job fair and the guy said, well, I'll hire either one of you because we were the only ones that were really dressed up in a suit like you're supposed to go to job fair. So he calls me up on Monday, says, Jeanette, I told my boss I hired you. Who's coming? And my husband's like, well, go ahead and go. It's a 6-month job. So I thought, well, I can do that. It'll help me meet more people and everything. 6 months turned into 6 years.
Oh my goodness.
So much fun. I was working with the whole community and I was an ambassador with the Chamber of Commerce and I still have my Mary Kay, but I was, focused more on helping people get jobs. That was what I did. So after 6 years, I realized it was time to go. And, I thought, okay, and I'm going to go do my Mary Kay full time, but to make adjustments were very unusual. And then something really a little bit more traumatic happened in our life that my husband found out that he had stage 4 prostate cancer. So then things, again, that's a big change. And we didn't know what was going to happen. My daughter planned her wedding in 6 weeks. And it's just, we really had no idea really what was going to be our life at that time. But everyone started praying all over the world. And he has no new growth for his cancer, even though it had already spread through his bones. There's no new growth. So we're at a good point, and it's been 6 years since his diagnosis. So he's in the 3% of the people that are still living at this stage. So, we're like, oh, we're in the top 3%. You can look at it that way and just be grateful. And we really are.
My goodness. I don't think I knew that graphic piece of your story as well. That is a very large statement to God's goodness.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely awesome. Now, you mentioned a second ago, and I don't think I knew this either, about you earned your first car. How long do you get to keep those?
You get to keep them for 2 years. Mary Kay pays the tags, taxes, and mostly insurance. And then in 2 years, you just turn that car in because it's old, and but you're qualifying for it. It's sales and team building and everyone working together.
Oh, okay.
So yes.
Okay, so there's requirements to get it, of course, but
Yes.
then there's also requirements that you actually focus on to keep it.
Exactly.
Okay, so does everyone who has a Mary Kay car, they rotate it every 2 years, everyone?
Yes, or they may just decide that they're not, they're going to change what they're going to do and they don't, work to get it. But yes, every 2 years.
Okay.
Yes, and there's different size cars and things like that. I never had pink, but we had 11 cars. And then Diamond
Oh
Ring,
my gosh.
it was 22 years. I was really steady, even though we moved a lot, I was still steady doing the same thing. And then when the diagnosis came, it kind of just threw me for a loop. And I didn't, it, as you can imagine, because I know that you wrote a book about grief and all that. So, but we moved to Tallahassee and I didn't really want to go there, but my daughter was in law school. So we said, okay, we're going to go here and it's going to be great. It took me a long time to really get out and meet people. And then when she graduated, we were like, why are we still here in Tallahassee? So we came down to South Florida because that's where our grandson is. And now we have two grandsons. We have a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old. So that is a lot of fun for us, and especially for my husband since he's fully retired. And, we get to we're a mile away from our kids. So it's
Oh my
just,
gosh.
yeah, it really is amazing. And the Mary Kay business is still there. And I could run it whatever way I want to run it. And the fact that I can be with my husband when I want to be with my husband, we can go other places, we can help the girls. And so that's kind of where my life is right now. And I love what I do. And I love that I, can still be a consultant in Mary Kay, and just because I feel like I'm helping women feel good on the inside and out. Because a lot of women, they don't have good self-esteem, and I know I didn't. And as a teenager, I grew up. I had terrible skin. I saw a dermatologist, and now, I mean, I have products to help teenagers so they can feel confident in their own skin. And, I show the women how to wear the makeup so they feel better. And sometimes it's just a lipstick. You put that lipstick on, you go and you look in the mirror, it's like, oh, I look pretty good. I think one of my favorite stories is when I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a dairy farm. So my mom, of course, she had lipstick, but that's about it. And I never really saw her wear makeup or anything like that. But when she came to her, they came down to see us, I gave her first facial.
Oh
And
my.
she could not stop looking in the mirror. She just felt so good. And she's like, oh, was that really me? And that's when I really knew that's the calling. So, if you go home and your husband said, oh, you look really great. And then it's just that feeling that you have that more self-confidence and you feel better about yourself. So that's what I get to do to help other women. And we even have products for men. So, if you're cleaning your face and hydrating, it makes your skin better. And it doesn't matter if you're young, old, male or female. It's just something that we should do for our skin: clean and hydrate. And a lot of people go, oh, do you have to do that twice a day or just once a day? It's like, no, you do it twice a day. And with that, you could have great skin. And I mean, I'm 61 and I don't have any filters on this video. So I really feel like the product works very well.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you've been in business for so long, and the fact that you
Mhm.
just kind of glossed over the fact that you had Mary Kay cars for 22
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
That is just absolutely phenomenal to me. Walk us through I wouldn't say necessarily a typical day in the life of Jeanette Deatherage, but walk us through. You network all the time,
Mhm.
you meet someone. What is your next step from a standpoint of, do you wear makeup? Do you wash your face? Do you this, do that? How do you get them from meeting them in a networking event to being one of your consultants on your team? How do you do that?
Well, first of all, you help them with the product because they have to love the product. And there's so many different formulas. There's, different colors. So you get started there and you help them love the product and fall in love with the product. And then from there, right now, I'm sure we have to have more money this year than we did last year just to help pay the bills.
Absolutely.
So when we show them the marketing plan, then it's like, oh, okay, this is something I can do. And you can do it part-time, full-time, any way that you want time. If you need extra money, you'll clean more faces. And we teach, we don't touch. So that's also something different because, if you go, I have so many friends, that when they got married, they went to the salon or they went somewhere else to get their makeup done. And it's like, why not learn how to do it yourself so you feel that same way you did at the wedding with your face all gorgeous. Learn how to do that, and then you'll feel gorgeous all the time. And I have a cat that is just right behind me, and she
Oh,
wants to
wow.
too.
That's awesome, actually, because pets are definitely part of our lives. And the fact that you've got grandkids and certainly your husband, all of the things that you have in your life is just a fantastic blessing, in my opinion. One of the things that I have learned from the Mary Kay girls I've known over many, many years is God first, family second, career third. Is that something that has resonated with you throughout your career as well?
Absolutely. And Mary Kay stressed that all the time. But one thing she did say, it's third, not 33rd. So that kind of helps
Ah,
keep it in perspective, because a lot of times you can add a lot more things in your life. Well, then it's 33rd instead of third. But, I met her, I was trained by her. My LinkedIn, because you encouraged me, my LinkedIn pictures, Mary Kay and I together. So it's just, that's Cinderella. You can actually, because of the fact that you didn't have a plan, when the plan rolls out, it's in God's hands, and it's like, okay, you can have these things. Just put forth the effort, and you can have what you want to have.
what was it like to actually be in the presence of Mary Kay Ash? I mean, my goodness, that sounds like the biggest thing in the world.
Well, I was younger at the time, and to me, it seemed like the natural thing because you're representing her company. But later on, I realized that so many women they don't have that in their background anymore. So it makes it more precious to me now than it did even then, because like I said, I just felt like, well, I get to see her. But reading her autobiography really does make a big difference, and you realize that she started her business after she retired in a sales. So she had been working all these times, and so when she started the business, her and her husband were at the breakfast table, kind of going over everything that had to happen. And her husband passed away a month before she was due to open the company. And everything is already set in place. She already bought the recipe. She had used all her money, and the kids came home, and they're like, "Mom, I will help you." And so, she's got a 20-year-old son helping her start and open her business. She didn't realize he was brilliant. And he really did. Richard was a big part of the growth of the company. And now we have Richard's son as a CEO of Mary Kay. So we're back to being a family company again, which is really, really so excited. And I know I jumped a lot, but if there's something in between that jumping that you have a question, I'll be happy to kind of back up and show you, where I come from.
That's the biggest statement in the world, quite frankly, to be able to have a family owned business. Life throws all types of punches and hurdles our way, and we survive those in spite of the common thought that you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. And instead, she went, "Oh, yes, I can. Watch me." And I know that also from some of the consultants I have known, Mary Kay usually doesn't give cash bonuses, she gives thing bonuses. And I think that's the coolest thing. I've gotten to see gorgeous jewelry and
Mhm.
certainly those gorgeous pink cars.
Mhm.
What has been the highlight of your career besides meeting Mary Kay in person?
I think the first time I earned my diamond ring, that you come down these stairs, you're in a beautiful gown, and you wave like Miss America, and then you get your ring. But when you watch some of these women that have really, really worked hard, they get to sit in the Cinderella chair, and they get to tell their story to 7,000 people at the same time. So, mine was just, I had a moment in time walking across the stage, but I know in my mind one day I'm going to be able to tell my story and sit on that throne also. But I'm grateful to you for allowing me to tell my story here, because we don't know who's going to watch. Maybe somebody
Oh,
really
yes.
super shy, and they're like, wow, I wonder if I can do that. Or maybe she'll, put that makeup on, and her husband's going to come home and say, oh, you look really pretty. So we just don't ever know what we're
I
doing.
love when you say teach, not touch. I don't think I knew that either. So you don't actually put anything on anybody's skin. You teach them how to do it correctly, and then
Mhm.
they can have that I look amazing type of feeling.
Yes, because like I said, if when the brides, what happens, someone does their makeup for them, and then they get married and they look beautiful in the pictures. And that's the last time they wear makeup because no one showed them how to do it, right?
Yeah. My goodness. And before we go, and again, I thank you so much for being on Cathy Chat today, because I absolutely love sharing not only your story from combat and fatigues to Mary Kay consultant, and certainly those Mary Kay cars. You also gifted me with Happy Mail. And I literally was like, what is Happy Mail? I don't even know what that means. And the next thing you know, I get this fabulous pink envelope in my actual physical mailbox. And I was like, what is this? This was not little sample stuff, my friend. This is like the real deal. And I just want to thank you publicly for that. My gosh, what do you do with Happy Mail? Like, what is that as part of your marketing?
Well, the first part of Happy Mail normally is just like a cute envelope, colored envelope, handwritten note, and some goodies inside. That's normally what I do. But then, when someone does something really nice to me, I don't have anything that I'm going to give of myself, but it is of myself. So when I give product like that in a nice bag, I know that you're going to go to the mailbox and say, "Oh, this is really cool." But the other part of the Happy Meal, I mean, white envelopes usually have a bill in it.
Yeah.
You don't want to open it, but color, you're going to rip off that colored envelope before you even get in the house. Oh, I have mail with my name on it, and it's handwritten. It's not something that's going to say, "Give me money." This is so. I think I've probably done over 300 of those since I moved here, and it's
Oh
just
my gosh.
yeah. But and again, like somebody did something today, and I said, "Can I get your address?" So because they're going to get the full size Happy Meal, it's just like I said, my way to give back.
That was the sweetest thing ever. And again, Jeanette, I thank you for being on Cathy Chat today. How can all of our watchers, viewers, listeners, how can all the people watching this now or on the replay, how can they actually reach you? What's the best way?
Well, I'm going to tell you that in a second. But one thing I wanted to tell you is that with the golden rule, if you already have a consultant, please call her. She'll be absolutely thrilled that you did. So if you don't have a consultant, you're not getting the catalog every 2-3 months, then I would love to serve you. And the best way is through my website because it has my phone number also. And it's www.marykay.com/JeanetteD.
Wow. That is magnificent. And the golden rule is wonderful. And I know that from many of the Mary Kay consultants I have met. It really is one of those things. If you have a consultant, I love chatting with you. I love anything, but please go to your consultant when you actually need supplies. So I do product, and I do think that is very important. I thank you, Jeanette, from the bottom of my heart for being on the show today. And I thank you for all of our viewers for certainly watching Cathy Chat, but also connecting with Jeanette and thanking her for serving our country. And now, as a servant leader, she gets to serve men and women across the globe with her dynamics products and information. Jeanette, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, Cathy.
Of course. Bye for now, my friends. We'll see you next time on Cathy Chat.